菜根谭
Tending the roots of wisdom.
105忠恕待人，养德远害。
105. Be loyal and forgiving towards others. Cultivating virtue keeps harm at a distance.
菜根谭原文：不责人小过，不乏人阴私，不念人旧恶，三者可以养德，亦可以远害。
白话文注解：做人基本原则就是不要责难他人犯下的轻微小过，也不要随便暴露他人私生活中的秘密，更不可以对他人从前做过的糗事耿耿于怀，念念不忘。秉持做人的这3个基本原则，既可以涵养自己的品德，也可以使自己远离灾祸。
105-1. The fundamental principles of being a person involve refraining from blaming others for minor faults, refraining from casually revealing the secrets of others' private lives, and avoiding holding onto and dwelling on embarrassing incidents from others' pasts. Adhering to these 3 fundamental principles not only cultivates one's own character but also keeps one away from misfortune. Translated by Bayandefu.
105-2. Don't blame others for trifling transgressions, don't disclose the secrets of others, don't bear in mind the long-past misdeeds of others. Cultivate these 3 virtues and you will be remote from harm. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 105-3. Do not take others to task for minor transgressions. Do not reveal others' shameful secrets. Do not nurse old grievances. By sticking to these precepts one will refine one's moral character and keep harm at bay. Translated by Paul White.
105-4. The basic principles of being a person involve refraining from blaming others for minor mistakes, avoiding the casual exposure of others' private secrets, and not holding on to resentment for the embarrassing incidents others may have caused you in the past. Upholding these 3 fundamental principles not only nurtures one's own character but also keeps a person away from calamities. Translated by Wen Lin.
106持身不可轻，用心不可重。
106. Hold oneself with gravity, employ the mind with lightness.
菜根谭原文：是君子持身不可轻，轻则物能扰我，而无悠闲镇定之趣；用意不可重，重则我为污泥，而无潇洒活泼之机。
白话文注解：一个才德兼备的君子，待人接物不可轻浮急躁，因为一旦轻浮急躁，就会把事情弄糟，而使自己受到困扰，以致丧失内心悠闲宁静的生活雅趣。同理，凡事亦不可太过执着，因为过于执着，就必然为外物所牵制，以致丧失潇洒、超然物外的活泼生机。
106-1. A virtuous gentleman, possessing both talent and virtue, should not interact with others in a frivolous or impatient manner. Engaging in such behavior can lead to ruining situations and causing personal troubles, ultimately depriving oneself of the serene and tranquil enjoyment of life. Similarly, one should avoid becoming overly attached to things, as excessive attachment will inevitably lead to being controlled by external factors, thus losing the carefree and detached vitality of life. Translated by Bayandefu.
106-2. As a noble person I am not flighty in manner. Otherwise I will easily be moved by circumstances, and that's not conducive to calm and settled judgments. At the same time, I am not too unyielding in my judgments, or my vitality would be disabled and my performance muddied. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 106-3. The learned man should behave with discretion. If he fails to do so, he will make himself vulnerable to external distractions, and will be unable to engage in leisurely and untroubled pursuits. When he applies his mind to something, he should avoid being obsessed with it. If he fails to do so, he will become a slave of the external forces and will not be able to enjoy unrestrained and lively pleasures. Translated by Paul White.
106-4. A gentleman endowed with both talent and virtue should interact with others with a demeanor that is neither frivolous nor hasty. This is because once one becomes frivolous and impatient, It may lead to complications, causing personal distress and disrupting the inner tranquility of a leisurely life. Similarly, one should not be overly attached to everything, as excessive attachment inevitably results in being controlled by external factors, leading to the loss of a carefree and detached vibrancy in life. Translated by Wen Lin.
107. 人生无常，不可虚度。
107. Life is impermanent, it should not be squandered in vain.
菜根谭原文：天地有万古，此身不在得；人生值100年，此日最易过。幸生其间者，不可不知有生之乐，亦不可不怀虚生之忧。
白话文注解：天地的运行是永恒不变的，而人的生命只有一次，死了之后就不再复活。人的寿命最多也不过是100年，而每一天的日子却过得飞快。侥幸诞生在这永恒不变的天地之间的我们，既不可不了解生而为人的乐趣，亦不可不随时提醒自己不要浪费光阴，枉度此生。
107-1. The workings of the universe are eternally constant, yet a human life is limited to just one existence, as there is no resurrection after death. The human lifespan may extend to a century at most, but each day passes swiftly. We are fortunate to have been born in this timeless world, and we must strive to both appreciate the joys of human existence and remind ourselves constantly not to squander time, but to make the most of our lives. Translated by Bayan Defu.
107-2. Though heaven and earth is eternal, I won't come into being a second time. Even in a life of 100 years, the days slip by very quickly. It is my good fortune to have been born in this interval. I must not miss the chance to appreciate my life of happiness, nor allow myself to dwell upon empty existence. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 107-3. The universe lasts forever, but a man cannot live through all eternity. His lifespan is about 100 years, and even these 100 years pass quickly. If a man is fortunate to live long enough, he should taste the happiness of life, and at the same time keep in mind that to fritter away his days would be deplorable. Translated by Paul White.
107-4. The workings of the universe are eternally constant. While human life occurs only once, and after death, there is no resurrection. The maximum lifespan for a person is at most 100 years. Yet each passing day swiftly goes by. We, who are fortunate to be born within this unchanging universe, should both appreciate the joys of being human and constantly remind ourselves not to squander time or live our lives in vain. Translated by Wen Lin.
108. 得愿两忘，恩仇俱泯。
108. Forget both personal grievances and kindness received. Let go of both resentment and gratitude.
菜根谭原文：愿因得彰，故使人得我，不若得愿之两忘；仇因恩利，故使人之恩，不若恩仇之俱泯。
白话文注解：得到善行的表彰，往往会招惹一些人的嫉妒与怨恨，因此行善者与其要人赞美，还不如把赞美和怨恨两件事都忘掉。仇恨常因所施恩惠有限而产生，施恩者与其希望人家感恩图报，还不如把恩惠与仇恨两者都一并忘掉。
108-1. Being praised for virtuous actions often stirs jealousy and resentment among some individuals. Thus, those who perform good deeds might find it more beneficial to let go of seeking others' approval and, instead, forget about both praise and resentment altogether. Hatred often arises when favors are limited in nature. Therefore, it's better for those who bestow favors to forget about expecting gratitude or retribution from the recipients, and let go of both the favors and any resulting animosity. Translated by Bayan Defu.
108-2. The response to benevolence may be enmity, so rather than obliging others to feel your generosity, act as if you have forgotten both benevolence and enmity. The reaction to patronage may be resentment, so rather than obliging others to feel your kindness, act as if patronage and grudges have fallen away together. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 108-3. resentment is aroused when a man fails to receive rewards for a favor he has done others. So, instead of expecting rewards, he should forget about them, and therefore his resentment as well. Hatred is aroused when a man fails to see gratitude that he thinks others owe him. So, instead of thinking about it, he should destroy the seeds of hatred along with expectations of gratitude. Translated by Paul White.
108-4. Receiving recognition for good deeds often attracts jealousy and resentment from some people. Therefore, those who do good should not seek praise from others. It might be better to forget both praise and resentment altogether. Hatred often arises when the favors extended are limited. Instead of expecting gratitude and reciprocity, it may be wiser for the benefactor to forget both the kindness and the animosity that may arise from it. Translated by Wen Lin.
109. 持盈履满，君子精精。
109. Maintain fullness and tread carefully. A noble person proceeds with diligence.
菜根谭原文：老来疾病都是壮时招的，衰后罪孽都是盛时造的。故持盈履满，君子有精精言。
白话文注解：一个人如果到了晚年体弱多病，那都是年轻不懂得爱护身体所造成的；一个人在落魄衰败之后还继续厄运缠身，那都是因为得志时贪赃枉法所造成的。因此，一个有高深修养的人，即使活在幸运中，也要凡事都抱着战战兢兢的谨慎态度，以免后患无穷。
109-1. If a person reaches old age with frailty and ailments, it's often a result of not taking proper care of their health when they were young. Similarly, if someone continues to face misfortune and adversity after a period of prosperity, it may be attributed to their unethical actions during their successful times. Therefore, an individual with profound moral cultivation should maintain a cautious attitude even when living in fortunate circumstances, so as to avoid potential troubles and complications. Translated by Bayan Defu.
109-2. The ailments of old age are really those incurred in youthful times. Weakness in one's last years is really something wrought in the prime of life. Therefore, when life is at peak, the noble person endeavors exactingly to take full care in every way. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 109-3. The ailments of old age have their roots in the prime of life. The hardships and suffering which come after the decline of one's career have their roots in its acme of success. That is why a man of virtue is especially careful in his heyday. Translated by Paul White.
109-4. If a person becomes frail and diseased in old age, it is often a result of not understanding how to take care of their health when they were young. Similarly, if a person continues to face misfortune after experiencing a downfall, it may be attributed to engaging in corrupt and unlawful activities during times of success. Therefore, even someone leading a fortunate life should approach everything with a cautious attitude, understanding that unforeseen troubles may arise, especially for someone with refined and elevated principles. Translated by Wen Lin.
110. 却思福功，修身重德。
110. Set aside personal interests to support the public. Cultivate oneself and sow virtues.
菜根谭原文：是思恩不如福功益，竭心知不如敦就好，立荣名不如重引德，上其节不如谨庸行。
白话文注解：与其私下买好，不如扶持大众公益；与其结交新朋友，倒不如重修一下老朋友之间的旧交情；与其追求虚名，不如暗中积一些阴德；与其标新立异，主动去制造自己的名节，倒不如平日谨言慎行，多做一些平凡无奇的好事。
110-1. Rather than seeking personal gain through private connections, it's better to support public welfare. Instead of making new acquaintances, it's more worthwhile to nurture the bonds of old friendships. Rather than pursuing empty fame, it's preferable to accumulate virtues in subtle ways. Instead of striving to stand out and create one's own reputation, It's more effective to practice humility and engage in ordinary acts of kindness in daily life. Translated by Bayandefu.
110-2, it is better to sustain equanimity than to market personal favors, better to warm up old friendships than to cultivate new relationships, better to exert moral influence quietly than to set up glory for one's name, better to behave in an ordinary manner than to consider exotic possibilities. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 110-3, trying to curry favor with individual is not as good as promoting public morality. Making new friends is not as good as consolidating old friendships. Creating a vainglorious reputation for oneself is not as good as quietly cultivating virtues. Advocating flamboyant behavior and extraordinary deeds is not as good as acting cautiously in everyday life. Translated by Paul White.
110-4. Trying to curry favor with individual is not as good as promoting public morality. Instead of seeking new friendships, it's more valuable to nurture and strengthen existing bonds with old friends. Instead of pursuing empty fame, it's wiser to accumulate positive karma through hidden acts of kindness. Rather than striving to create a unique reputation, it's more meaningful to lead a modest life and consistently perform ordinary acts of goodness. Translated by Wen Lin.
111. 勿犯公论，勿产权门。
111. Do not violate public opinion. Do not flatter those in power.
菜根谭原文：公平正论不可犯手，一犯则贻修万事；权门私斗不可着脚，一着则沾污终身。
白话文注解：凡是社会大众所公认的规范和法律，绝对不可以触犯，一旦触犯了，就会世代蒙羞，遗臭万年。凡是权贵人家营私舞弊的地方，千万不可涉足，涉足一步，那你清白的人格这辈子都洗刷不清。
111-1. Any norms and laws universally recognized by the public must never be violated. Once violated, it brings shame for generations and a lasting infamy. Never venture into the private and corrupt practices of the powerful and influential. Taking even a single step into such territory can forever tarnish your pristine character. Translated by Bayandefu.
111-2, don't violate a fair and just credo. With just one such violation, your legacy is shame for 10,000 ages. Thresholds to power and private gain must not be crossed. Once crossed, the whole life is stained. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 111-3, never transgress against public opinion which is in line with righteousness. To do so is to bring everlasting shame on oneself. Do not set foot in places where power is wielded for private gain. To do so is to sully yourself for life. Translated by Paul White.
111-4. Any norms and laws universally recognized by the public should never be violated. Once violated, the shame can last for generations, leaving a lasting stigma. Places where the powerful engage in private dealings and corruption should be avoided at all costs. Stepping into such territory can tarnish your innocent character irreparably for the rest of your life. Translated by Wen Lin.
112. 直公不畏人忌，无恶不惧人毁。
112. Stand upright without fearing others' jealousy. Have no fear when facing malicious criticism.
菜根谭原文：去义而使人喜，不若直公而使人忌；无善而致人欲，不若无恶而致人毁。
白话文注解：一个人与其做违心事去博取他人的欢心，实在不如因为刚正不阿而遭受小人的记恨；一个人与其没做善事而无端接受他人的赞美，实在不如没做坏事却遭受小人的诋毁。
112-1. It's better for a person to endure the resentment of the wicked due to their unwavering integrity, than to engage in insincere actions to win others' approval. Likewise, it's better for a person to face baseless criticism from the wicked for not engaging in wrongdoing, than to receive unwarranted praise for not having done any good deeds. Translated by Bayandefu.
112-2, it is better to practice honesty and be shunned than to swerve from principles to please others. It is better to incur unwarranted blame than to receive undeserved praise. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 112-3. It is better to incur hatred by one's upright conduct than to please others by perverting your morals. It is better to incur slander by refraining from evil deeds than to earn praise by unjust behavior. Translated by Paul White.
112-4. It is better for a person to endure the jealousy of petty individuals due to their integrity, rather than winning others' favor through insincere actions. It is also preferable for a person to face unjust criticism from malicious individuals for not doing any wrong, rather than receiving praise for good deeds they never performed. Translated by Wen Lin.